Woodson. It's interesting when you stand up as an evaluator, you're sitting there and you're getting ready to listen to your speaker's speech, you can take notes diligently and persevere through the whole process, 2 minutes and then everything else. And then she said, don't worry about it. You don't have to evaluate me for today. And you know, last week when I was the Toastmaster of the day, I kind of said everybody wanted me to kind of step aside. I felt like it was the right place at the right time. And in some ways, this was a secondary role for me as evaluator, but I'm glad that it's there. And the reason why is that the title of your speech was "What You Don't Know Can Hurt You." In a strange sort of way, you wanted to talk about chemicals, but what you did was you talked about even a bigger issue, and that affects us as Toastmasters. So her speech today was from the Advanced Manual, Public Relations. And there are 5 speeches that make up public relations. The first one is goodwill, and it's all about, ultimately, about building conviction with your audience, is the goal of the entire series. So the first one is goodwill. The second one is radio talk shows. How do you convince over radio when you can't actually see the audience, they can't see you? A persuasive approach, which was her speech for today. Speak under fire. How do you deal with a hostile audience? And then crisis management. Basically, how do you do a damage control to support your organization? Overall, minus the radio part of it, which I couldn't see because I could physically see you this time. Actually, I would say you're a graduate of the whole Advanced Manual because of your 3-minute speech today. And here's why. At the end of the day, you stood up here and you said, you know, I'm going to change this. In some way, it's damage control. I am not ready to do this. I can talk with conviction about this. I can sell you an audience. But what you really did was you picked a subject that, quite frankly, you convinced all of us that this is why we should be in Toastmasters and this is why we should take things seriously. That's the point of this manual. That's the point of the whole series and your speech. So it wasn't the subject you started with, but it was the one you changed to. That actually, as I look at it, is the one area of improvement that I would recommend. Is that when you changed the speech, and you did this, you stood up here and you spoke with conviction and you picked up the manual. And I had your real manual, so you picked up a different one. And you went through it and you sold us on it. And that's exactly what you were supposed to do in your speech. It wasn't the subject you chose, but it was a subject that was completely relevant to the entire audience that came to the meeting today. And you sold us that we have to choose things that are important to us, whether it's a job career, which you talked about, whether it's an advanced manual speech, or whether it's how you stand in front and present yourself to an audience. Whether you stand back here, you just show emotion or not. You showed emotion. You talked to us about what was going on. So at the end of the day, when I looked at your entire speech, I think you actually met all the requirements of the speech, minus the time. And it's a hard one to do, but I think from Toastmasters, we come across that a lot of times when we speak, where we don't know what to say. Table topics today, prime example. And you're able to kind of draw it out and get to the point and move on. And you had that great opportunity today. And you did a great job of moving us towards it. I think if you had just taken maybe another 10 seconds before you had started and composed yourself a little bit, you could have given us a great speech that really built on it. I would not abandon this, though, the whole advanced manual. Number one, you're almost all the way through it. Number two, I really think you understand the concept of what the manual is about. It isn't just about your company and sales pitch. It's about Toastmasters and all. Mr. Toastmaster.